This year marks the 40th anniversary of one of the iconic albums of the 1980s from one of the most popular electronic bands, Architecture and Morality, the really, really successful third album from Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark. You're hearing Joan of Arc from that album now. And what a terrific tribute to mark the anniversary then for the band, famed for their energetic live performances, to perform the album in full at venues across the country. Well, when I spoke to founder member Andy McCluskey about the 40th significant anniversary, I asked him if it felt even more important after all the uncertainty of the pandemic.
It absolutely does, Janice. I mean, we have all been so frustrated over the last 18 months. I mean, it's been difficult, it's been dangerous, but we seem to be coming out now. I'm hopeful there isn't going to be another surge and a lockdown. And we're confidently ploughing ahead with a tour in November, which starts in Glasgow and then goes straight to Edinburgh. So couldn't pick a better country to start in. And we're going to celebrate the 40th anniversary of our Architecture and Morality album.
Yeah, and it's I'm not looking for you to blow smoke in any particular area as I asked you the question, but I was thinking, are they just doing it because the tour is starting in Scotland because it's north to south, so that makes sense as a logic there, or is there something very special about Scottish audiences?
There is something very special about Scottish audiences.
You've
got your hook
there
in me, and you can line me in onto the bank. I mean, obviously, I've always had an affinity for Scotland because my dad was from Glasgow, and so we used to play in some of the places that he used to frequent as a child, like the Glasgow Apollo and the Barrowlands. So I used to come up to Scotland on holiday all the time, and so I do have an affinity. And you know what? The Scottish audiences are great. I'm really pleased that we're actually playing in Edinburgh again. We haven't played in Edinburgh for a long, long time. So I think that's going to be absolutely fabulous to play in the Usher Hall. We always used to play in the Playhouse, which I used to describe as the coldest theatre on earth. Not because of the reception from the crowd. It's just the stage door always used to seem to be open, and there was a howling gale used to blow across the stage.
Oh, it's so long since I've been there. One of my most memorable gigs there was Dylan, and so maybe that's why he was particularly grumpy that night. Maybe it was something about the venue rather than just Dylan.
He had a chill on his backside from the back of the stage. Yeah.
Oh, if only I'd known. So, I mean, the thing is, we could even hear from, your fans will know this, but for folk who've not heard you chat before, it's like, God, this guy's got energy. And that's the thing, you always strike me as being a very positive person. And that, obviously, that energy comes to bear when it comes to OMD on stage. So that must be particularly lovely to be looking forward to actually getting a bit physical on stage.
You know it. I mean, everybody who's seen us before knows that I'm infamous for my idiosyncratic dancing style. And when the band reformed, I did intend to try to perform with dignity, becoming a man of my age, but I can't. And so it allows the audience carte blanche. They look at me and they think, well, I can't dance worse than him, so I'll just have fun. As Paul Humphreys says, I have now spent over 40 years overcompensating for his static performance.
I like the attribution of blame here. It gives an insight into the band dynamics. Very refreshing. So tell us, a new album on the horizon. Tell us about this.
Well, yes, obviously... I used the COVID time to rediscover the creative power of absolute abject boredom, as many people have done. I think people have started writing books or going painting or whatever. So there was time to go and write a new OMD album. That will be probably towards the end of next year.
Right, okay.
It's the dynamic one, me, has finished the writing. The slow, fastidious one, Paul, has now got it to mix, so God knows how long that's going to take. In between him being busy, having just become a dad at 61 again.
Good Lord.
He'll be, yes, I know, he'll be changing nappies whilst mixing, so it'll be his opportunity to multitask. But so obviously, I mean, the amazing thing now with us is we're kind of in this middle ground now where we're doing all sorts of things. It seems like every year is the 40th anniversary of something with us.
I know.
And we enjoy celebrating that. But also we have made new albums which have been very well received, which sort of contemporized us. We're not just a heritage band that only plays our hits. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with only playing your hits. People want to hear them when you play live, and we play them all. But, when we do new music, and you put a few new tracks in, and the entire audience doesn't all go to the loo or the bar, you know you're doing something right, you know? So.
Indeed. And just thinking about the anniversary, I mean, Architecture and Morality, is it true that album was completed in no time at all?
Do you know, when we were young, we had such an energy and a passion, and we were so excited. This was our hobby. This wasn't intended to be a career. So we were so excited that we could actually give up our day jobs and go and make music and build our own studio, that we were just brimful of ideas. And this Architecture and Morality was our third album, but it seemed like everything we did just got bigger and better and more, sold more, and yet we were doing exactly what we wanted to do. Nobody from the record company was telling us how to sound or what to, and we changed sounds every album. I mean, Architecture and Morality sounded different from its predecessors, but it was massively successful. It felt like we had a Midas touch. It was so exciting. Everything we did just seemed to go gold, even though we weren't following anybody's rules.
Yeah, and indeed, thinking about those record company rules, that strikes me as being pretty unique, actually, that kind of hands-off approach from the record company, because quite often it's the same in the film business too, as I'm sure you know. It's kind of, that was a success, that formula, let's replicate it.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that was something that they didn't do. They left us to our own devices. And because Paul and I started out seeing ourselves as experimental, actually, we felt it was our kind of like modus operandi to actually, you know, to do something different. Okay, that was successful, but let's do something different again. And so, you know, I mean, listen, I mean, Architecture and Morality had choirs and orchestra sounds from mellotrons and big drums on it that were actually I mean, Maid of Orleans was me being inspired by the Edinburgh military tattoo.
Of course.
Make no bones about it. If you listen to those big booms, and I mean, it's a mellotron violin, but it does actually sound like a cat being strangled by bagpipes. So on the lead melody. So but people seem to like it. So no complaints.
Thinking back to that time, you know, when there was a whole sort of new world opening up through synthesised sounds, which is so blooming difficult to say, but I think I managed to do it there. Is there
your teeth didn't fall out. Well
not
done.
Not quite. They're from a catalogue. Boom, boom. Sorry. But do you think there is a new frontier that can continue to excite the pair of you in terms of, you know, all the availability of digital sonic surprises?
It's always exciting when you get a new toy that makes new sounds. And one of the things I did this year was I finally upgraded my computer system, because it's all done on computer now. And I got loads and loads of new digital plugins. Now, there are purists out there who go, what, you're not using original Jupiter 8s and the original Mellotron? And I'm like, no. They go out of tune, they weigh a ton, and you can't hook them up by MIDI to your computer, so you can't control lots of things. So no, we enjoy using the technology, but not being subsumed by it, you know, being the masters of it and creating the music. I mean, that was one of the things that really did used to annoy us in the early days, that people used to think that, oh, well, the synthesizer writes the song for you, doesn't it? You know, I was like, no, it doesn't. You know, if a synthesizer had a button on it that said hit single, I would be pressing it, but there isn't one.
You're the last person that needs one, that's for sure. And of course, there have been the really difficult knock-on effects of the pandemic, particularly for, and quite a few bands have talked about this, and I know this is dear to your heart too, but it's not just the bands and the artists, it's all of the stage crew and everybody else who've really suffered, particularly financially in terms of livelihood, and that goes right across all kind of branches of entertainment. How are you feeling about that now? Do you see possibly a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel or not?
Yes, but you know, it's still noticeable that many of our crew had to go and get other jobs because they didn't get furlough money. They fell through all the government schemes. We did finally get to do our charity concert for them, which raised quite a lot of money. But it didn't happen because of various rules until June this year. It was supposed to be October last year. So the money was a bit late coming, but they love the gesture. They love the gesture of support. But yeah, I mean, we've been doing festivals for the last 4 weekends, and half of our crew have been having to go, I'll come, but I've just got to check with work that they don't need me to be the delivery driver that day or something. And it's going to be difficult because a lot of crew are going to have to decide when the music industry is really functioning properly again and to give up their new day jobs that they've had to take.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, we can't wait for the tour to start, particularly kicking off in Scotland, as you said. Two quite different venues in Glasgow, the O2 Academy and the Usher Hall, which is rather marvellous. Not that the O2 isn't, but you know what I mean, it's a different vibe. I just wonder, for you guys, you know, when you're on stage, I mean, we talked earlier about the Playhouse being a bit chilly, but do you absolutely get a sense? Have you kind of got a wee map in your head, having done this for so long, of you know exactly what the atmosphere's like in different venues? Although I guess there's a new twist in it now because of people coming out of lockdown.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, you know, how people respond to being next to each other. But I mean, the festivals, people have been going to the festivals and they've been having a good time. I mean, it looks like you're going to have to be double jabbed to get in, but I think that's a good thing to make you feel safe, make everybody feel safe. But yeah, I mean, every venue is different. I mean, we've changed venue in Glasgow. We almost invariably for the last 14 years have played at the Royal Concert Hall, and we just fancy doing something different. I mean, Glasgow audiences are rowdy enough, but with the Academy with no seats, it should be even rowdier. But yeah, the Usher, I'd never played the Usher Hall, so I'm looking forward to that. So that would be but listen, as soon as we come on stage, everybody stands up anyway and just starts boogieing. So yeah, it's going to be an absolutely great way to start, and I just think that, you know, hopefully over the next couple of months, people will be confident. I mean, Glasgow sold out. Edinburgh's still got a few tickets, but I just think it's just taking a little time for people to feel like, more than anything else, actually, it's going to happen.
Sure,
you know, it's not going to be another lockdown and I'm going to be left with yet another ticket for a postponed concert. We are going to make this happen.
Hooray!
Hook or crook,
Brilliant. Great to speak to you, Andy. All the very best with everything that's going on, and we're so looking forward to you guys hitting Scotland. Thanks very much indeed.
Janice, lovely to talk to you, and we'll see you at a gig in the beginning of November.
There you go, the always fabulous Andy McCluskey. You can catch OMD